Today's episode is brought to you by Sports Business Classroom. Landing a job in the NBA is no easy feat. One surefire way to put yourself in front of a competitive talent pool is if you master the collective bargaining agreement. And now you can, with a course developed by the godfather of the CBA himself, Larry Kuhn. Larry Kuhn has been teaching the CBA to teams, agents, media, and students for over 20 years, and now you can master the CBA through his online video on-demand course, which is now available to the public. If you're looking to break into basketball, or even just set yourself apart, this is the competitive advantage you are looking for. To learn more about the video on-demand course that is being taken by teams and agents all over the world, please visit sportsbusinessclassroom.com today. Welcome to the Sports Business Classroom audio experience. I'm your host, John Hartofilis, and today I'm super excited to bring you a special episode highlighting the career of Sacramento Kings Assistant General Manager, Wes Wilcox. Wes joins me at the state-of-the-art SBC Studio in Las Vegas to share his insight on building trust, being comfortable being uncomfortable, and the SBC success story of Kings Basketball Ops coordinator and former No Trade Clause member, Aram Palamadian. And now, please enjoy episode number 68, the ins and outs of an NBA front office with Wes Wilcox. Welcome to the Sports Business Classroom audio experience. I'm your host, John Hartofilis, and today I'm super excited to be joined by Wes Wilcox to talk about his career and the steps leading up to where he is today. Wes, how are you?
I'm good, John. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Doing great. Really excited that we're doing this and super excited to have you on here. I mean, I remember you from last year at SBC being such a big part of the program, and obviously this show is all about showcasing some of the great speakers we have, past guests, and giving a lot of lessons to the students today and how they can maybe be in a position like yours one day. Just starting us off thinking about, the early beginnings of your career, what made you realize that basketball was what you wanted to do with your whole life?
It's you get the question a lot, and either I'm getting old and I can't remember anymore, which is probably what's going on, or I'm just misremembering the past. But I don't really know what got it started other than the fact that I was passionate about basketball from a very young age. And pretty early knew that I wanted to be in basketball, and I really wanted to coach. I never envisioned being a front office guy, but really just chased the coaching game and try to figure out how I could really be a college basketball coach. And then, from there, that just turned into an opportunity in the NBA, which turned into a front office opportunity, which has brought us here today.
Definitely, and coaching is such an incredible route, and it's one a lot of people take. But it can get right. You can go in so many different directions with it.
For sure.
We can maybe think about when you were in college, how did that transition go from you into saying, you know what, I'm enjoying this coaching thing, but maybe something else works a little bit better for me. Maybe it's more my style to do something else.
Yeah, so really, it like most of us, I played every day. Yep. And, I was a decent high school basketball player. Tried to go play at a small D3. I knew it was going to end. And I right away pivoted from playing into trying to just, get into coaching, even at the high school level. And then I started working basketball camps and trying to go to all the events and just trying to find a way to fit in and be around the people that I wanted to be a part of. And that really led to me transferring a bunch. I went from Whittier College to Purdue University to be a manager. Then I went to Cal Poly Pomona, where I was a high school coach locally in Orange County. And then I turned it into opportunity at Cal State Fullerton, where I was kind of a manager / walk-on, ended up on scholarship. And then from there, through all those summers, I was working in summer camps, University of Utah, UCLA, Lavin camps, the pump camps, all over the place. And through all that was the opportunity that came about with the Miami Heat, and really in the video room. And I just really wanted to be a basketball coach. But over the course of time, you realize that leadership dictates opportunity. And when I was in Cleveland, people kept just nudging me with maybe a front office opportunity. Initially, I resisted. Eventually, I said yes. And it was a good decision for me because it kind of fit my skill set maybe better than coaching would.
Definitely. And I mean, right before we get into all that stuff with on the NBA side with that first opportunity with the Heat and all that and that sort of thing, you mentioned going to all these different basketball camps. It's kind of similar to being here at Summer League, right? You're at these events, you meet so many people, and you're traveling so much, and you're getting to see basketball outside of your own state lines, right? It's pretty incredible. What was that like for you? That summer, being in your early 20s, actually getting to go out and see basketball in a whole new way.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm probably getting old and just forgetting stuff. I don't even know how the idea came about, but it was just, I knew literally no one. And it was, how can you put yourself in the arena? Yep. How can you put yourself as a part of the group? And I will remember going to the discount clothing store trying to find a polo with a Nike swoosh that I could afford and some pants that looked like the rest of the college coaches. And really what I tried to do is model what all those guys looked like. And I went to all the events. I went to AAU events. I went to camps. Eventually I got to the point where I could work camps. And I would say it's very similar to those who are trying to get in now. You just got to get to Summer League. You got to get to SBC. You got to get to the G League building that is closest to you. Buy tickets. Buy a bunch of tickets. Go to every single G League game. Whatever it takes, put yourself in the environment to just bump into people, to be a part, and then try to look the part. And eventually people will just start recognizing you. And over time, that often leads to some sort of opportunity.
That's incredible advice. Something that a lot of our students really take and go out and do that sort of thing. Really making sure that you're always in the room, right? If you want to get your foot in the door, start by putting yourself in that situation.
Be in the environment.
Definitely. So, you mentioned, though, finally getting those opportunities, starting off in the NBA. What was that like now? You finally get that team polo shirt. You finally have that ability to have that sort of thing. What did that maybe turn into, and how did things look like that for you?
It was... I was super, like any of us, we're super fortunate to get an opportunity to get in. And then once you get in, what it really is your first job for sure in the NBA is probably not going to be doing what you envision or dream of doing. It's going to be, if it's in the video room, it's going to be a lot of edits, a lot of work, just kind of prepping the video, getting it to the people who need to make decisions or use the video. But it's also like in the front office, it's doing credentials, it's booking flights, it's picking people up from the airport. And really what you're trying to do as a young person is build trust. Build trust that whatever assignment or task is being delegated to you, you're able to do efficiently, responsibly, and the people who you're working for then gain trust that you're able to deliver on the smallest things. I remember Paul Silas, when I was super fortunate to work with him, Don Vaden walking by, one of the great NBA referees of all time. When I was working in New Orleans, my second year in the NBA for Paul Silas, I would get lunch every day, almost like there was a Subway sandwich shop, and I would get his lunch right every day. And if I got it wrong, I'd go back and I'd get it fixed, and I'd get extra cookies. And then he learned to trust me that I could get his lunch right. And I did the same thing for his son, Steven Silas, who's now the head coach of the Houston Rockets. And then it turned into he needed a TV at his house. And so he calls and says, hey, can you help me get a TV? And I go to the store. I don't even know what the store is, but I help him buy a TV. And then, okay, he likes the TV. And that turns into okay, my goal then became, I was the head video guy, but I'm going to get it. I'm going to get something to the team that he has not asked for. So I would listen to all the meetings and listen to all the things he's saying to the team. I'd try to go find it on video. I'd try to pull 10 clips and put it on his desk. And eventually it got to the point where he took a video, popped it in, he liked it, and then showed the team. And it was all those little things along the way. And then eventually he ends up going to Cleveland the following year, 2003, and he hires me as an advanced scout. And, that was really the biggest break because we were fortunate to have LeBron in 2003 as a rookie. And it was an incredible run in Cleveland.
That story is incredible, right? It doesn't just happen in one day, right? This is happening over months, years even, right?
Yeah.
Building that relationship and cultivating that and so many different things. For our students to really imagine being in that, it's easy to say, oh, okay, going to get in the TV, but imagine actually doing those sort of things and building those relationships. It really is incredible. And it really comes into a lot of the lessons we have here at SBC. What really, when it comes to SBC, really got you to really become accustomed to the program and really start to see the value in what we're doing here?
Yeah, so Warren Legary and Albert Hall and Larry Kuhn, really three people that I have great respect for and have a both deep personal relationship and the highest level of a professional relationship. And they've been very I'd say generous, and they have wanted and offered me to be a part of it. And one of the greatest things about the jobs that we have is really it's our opportunity to give back to the next generation. And it's always invigorating to be in a room with a bunch of young people who are passionate at the very beginning of their careers. I'm kind of mid-career. I've been incredibly fortunate. I'm deeply grateful for all the experiences. But you're also you get lost in the job. And so it's nice to get into the room with people who are aspiring to be where you are and to try to help people understand that there's a million different paths. There is no one certain way. The great story is Jeff Siegel at Summer League. Literally his opportunity came from SBC which then he started earlybirdrights.com, which then I found when I was doing media, when I was no longer working kind of in my break in the world of basketball. I reach out to Jeff because he's a Georgia Tech guy. I'm an Atlanta guy at the time. And we build a relationship. We start to talk over the phone. He's absolutely fantastic. And then that leads to helping him get to a place like Clutch, where he's now working behind the scenes on like all the stuff that Clutch has going on. It's an incredible story. And I got another one for you. Aram Palamodian. Aram was in SBC a couple years ago. And when we were brainstorming the program, I called Larry Kuhn and I said, Larry, I have an idea. What if we send an advanced project to try to kick off SBC? And he's like, what are you thinking? And I was like, look, like the Milwaukee Bucks were in a really unique situation that year because I think they were tied up in like an early bird where they had to make a decision on one of their players. And it was a little tricky. And so Larry and I worked together on kind of the project. And then Larry sent it to all of SBC students in advance. And we said, look, write this up and send it in. We'll take a look and we'll pick a winner based on the quality of work that was done. And so I think of the 80 or so students, plus or minus, that were in that year, first of all, only like 40 or 50 did the project, which is like, number one, that's like the first eliminator. Okay, so the 40 or 50 that did the project, great, you guys advance. Of the 40 or 50, there was one project that stood out far and away better than anybody else. And it was Aram Palamodian. And so after reading through all the stuff at the first day at SBC at the welcome reception, we kind of awarded Aram as like the winner of the prep assignment, the homework assignment, if you will, leading up to SBC. Now, fast forward a couple years later, I'm in Sacramento now, and our guys are looking for a basketball operations assistant, basically a part-time position, what maybe was called previously an internship. And I had said to our guys, I'm not hiring the position. This is one of our other staff members, Phil Jabor, our VP of Player Personnel, who does an amazing job. And I'm like, hey, Phil, look, it's your hire. I'm just giving you a name, Aram, really positive impression in a very short period of time. I just want you to know the name. So Phil runs the process. I just put Aram's name in the mix. They probably talked to 20, 30 people for the position. And guess who they pick? They pick Aram, who again rose to the position where, man, he's gone from SBC.
Crazy.
Well, signs up for SBC, random advanced project for SBC. He is selected as the winner of that SBC project. And then 2 years later, he's now a seasonal in the NBA. And this summer just got promoted to full-time.
Crazy.
And Aram has done just an amazing job for us. He's got a bright future in the NBA. And if not for this event, if not for Aram trying to find a way to create an opportunity for himself to get to the NBA, it's amazing.
That's incredible. That's really how it's done. It's so really gratifying to hear that things like that actually do happen. And for our students to know that that's the process you have to go through. It's not easy. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over the course of several years, but with obviously careful work and stuff. These kind of things could get done. So that's an incredible thing about that sort of story, and thank you for sharing both of those. I'm also in no trade clause with those guys, and seeing the work they put in all the time is really great, and the quality of work that's being put out. I mean, have you with the website and stuff? Have you been with no trade clause as a whole? Have you been checking up on the website? What have you thought about it?
Yeah, I check in all the time. So I don't know if the history's been shared, but Early Bird Rights, when Jeff Siegel went to Clutch and kind of got his first full-time opportunity, Early Bird Rights went away, and so in working with Jeff Siegel, Albert Hall, Larry, Warren, everybody created No Trade Clause, which is this incredible platform now. And so it's creating opportunities for all sorts of folks. So I absolutely check in on it all the time. I know a number of the guys on there. Anil, I believe, is one of the guys behind the scenes.
He's the mastermind.
Yeah, he does a fantastic job. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that the NBA sees it, the NBA tracks it, the NBA follows it. And because they do, there's going to be opportunities in the NBA created, again, for the same story. And so there's going to be more success stories, and I wouldn't be surprised if someday Anil is one of those success stories.
We've had a few since, and it's been really incredible watching that part of the program grow as a whole and seeing all these things happen. And all these things are incredible, right? And for a lot of people listening to this, it might seem okay, that's cool, but what if you're not the one person that gets that opportunity? I mean, what are some of your tips or advice for people to get that initial conversation going at Summer League or at one of these events to start networking with people when they're maybe a little bit too shy, too timid, or they think they are? How do you break that ice and have your first conversation like
First of all, it's really good to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yep.
That's like number one. Number two, do not try to occupy someone's time. Make it quick. Everyone appreciates the, hey, my name is, this is what I do. I just wanted to say hello. And then find that person's email address. Most of us are all publicly sourced somehow, some way. You can find our emails and then send a follow-up email and make reference to some point you made in the very brief interaction and introduction. That's all it is. I can tell you what you don't want to do is you don't want to come up and take someone's time and turn it into 5, 10, 15 minutes, because most of us are going to try to sit there and engage in the conversation, but we're also have tons of other stretch responsibilities at this time of year, and we're not trying to be rude. We're trying to give you the time, and we will take it, but it oftentimes is the most positive impression is the one that is quick, very clear, precise, with a follow-up in the future. That's all you need, and that's what it can be. And you have to get comfortable getting uncomfortable and putting yourself into those conversations, saying hello to people, making the introduction. And I've told all the young guys I've ever worked with, you got to lead with, hi, my name is. Hi, my name is. Walk up to people, tell them who you are, tell them what you want to do, tell them where you're at, and then follow up and then get out of the conversation and move on.
Well, that's how it's done, and it is really uplifting to think about just the opportunity that's here at Summer League, or for anyone really to go up with that positive energy, and good things will happen in return. It really is incredible.
For sure, and I'm going to tell you something else that I wish I would have known when I was like a young guy in the league. Most of us focus on growing our network above us. Okay, so we look at the people who are in the positions that we want to be in and say, oh man, I want to know who that person is because that person can help me get to where I want to go. And then secondly, we usually do a pretty good job of growing our network horizontally. We say, okay, I'm going to look to try to build my relationship base with my peers. Okay. And then what happens is as you age through the league, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, what happens is there's another generation behind you.
Right there.
That is literally building into the next generation of executive, just like you guys, I'm sure, have had the Zach Kleinman example, who was an SBC alum, is my understanding. And I will just tell you that what I did not know even 15 years ago was that most executives in this league are looking at the generation behind them and trying to figure out who they can hire, who is making a mark, who is standing out that they can bring to their organization to help them grow. And teams literally come to NBA Summer League. And I have been a part of helping build the teams that do this. Front office teams come to NBA Summer League with a plan to find the next seasonal assistant, the next intern, the next Jeff Siegel, the next Aram, the next Zach Kleinman, the next Sam Presti, because it's in the building, most likely.
It is in the building, and that's why it's such a special building to be in, and it's so important to make it out to NBA Summer League to be part of this incredible event. Now, you mentioned a little bit before about just the time and how much of a scarcity that resource really is for so many people. And for some of our older SBC alumni, right, they're dealing with so many commitments, whether it's with their jobs or even with their family. So, I mean, living the life that you've lived, doing all these different jobs and traveling all over the country for the game of basketball, how have you maybe found the best ways to go about managing your time to make the best of both commitments?
Yeah, are you asking like work-life balance?
Yes.
Okay, work-life balance. I suck at it, number one. I have an incredible wife who is like responsible for our three, we have 3 amazing kids that are the result of my incredible wife doing all that work. I think that's the main point. I do not do good with the work-life balance thing. I've gotten better at it as I've gotten older, and I've lived kind of the cycle of the NBA more. I'm incredibly grateful to work for the Sacramento Kings, and Vivek Ranadive has been amazing. And he has been super fortunate in sharing some of his life experiences, and he's worked with some of the smartest people in the world. I mean, Steve Jobs was a guy that he knew very, very well, and he has shared the story that the best people in the world share some traits. They have an incredible focus. They have an incredible attention to detail, and they have a relentless drive. And those characteristics are typically what lead to really successful people. And so I don't think those characteristics necessarily are the things that we would say is like work-life balance. Work-life balance is important, but I don't think you can ever like underestimate an incredible focus, an incredible attention to detail, and an incredible relentless work rate. Those are the fundamentals to grow. And through that, I think you want to balance your life for sure. But I can just tell you, I'm not good at it.
Definitely. But then in turn, thinking about getting to that point, having that insane laser focus, and reaching your goals, what was it like for you finally getting into that upper echelon of the front office, and going from someone that was always on the move, always doing everything they possibly could do, to now being at that level to where you're a decision maker? What was the difference like there for you?
Yeah, I wasn't ready for the jobs when I first got there. One of the interesting transition points in these jobs is most of us rise through the world of the NBA in some level of like technical expertise, whether that's your ability to function in the cap, your ability to strategically plan, your ability to evaluate and identify good players, your ability to cultivate relationships and collect good information that helps lead to good decision making. These skills are foundational, and they're super important, and they're oftentimes what you grow through. All you need to do is get one player to the court as a scout, and it can change a career. You get one really good player to the court, and it's like it can be rocket fuel to your career. But what the next layer is management, and it's working with people, and it's building relationships, and it's functioning in the locker room with your players, and it's managing the relationships between your medical staff and your coaches and the agent community, and learning how to negotiate. And I would say, as I was very fortunate, people pulled me up, gave me opportunity. I was maybe more technically ready than I was emotionally ready, and that's like one of the great lessons. Is now the job I've been in for the last 10 years or so is much more about managing a group of people, trying to stay connected between your performance team, your medical team, your players, the agent community, your colleagues in the NBA. There's a media component to these jobs, to understanding the cap and the strategic plan, and then evaluating players on both the draft and the pro side, and then trying to strategize in the trade game. And it's really about trying to balance all of that. And that is a very different skill set than, okay, I'm going to go watch a game and tell you who the two best players out of that game are. And then once I find out who those two players are, then I got to go figure out what's going on in the background. Like, who is that person, not just the player? That's the skill set that I grew up in. That is very different than the skill set what I'm talking about now. And my first real opportunity in leadership in the NBA, I wasn't ready for it. And I struggled because of it. I'm still probably not great at it now. I'm better at it than I am. And I'm like any of us, just trying to get better every day and just trying to, continue to grow and learn.
So that technical aspect you mentioned, right? Having that in your back pocket and being so proficient in whatever that is for you is obviously so important. I mean, how have some of those skills still been so useful for you now in your current role with the Kings?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm still most comfortable where I grew up, which is in the gym watching players, which is sitting around talking to people, trying to figure out who these guys are. So you know who you're bringing into your club. Your proficiency, you're kind of I say this with for others, I'll call it expertise, not for me, for the stuff that I have done the most. That's where you're certainly most comfortable. But I've also learned to be very comfortable in being uncomfortable and trying to push yourself and just walk into a new situation and try to learn something new. And ultimately, one of the best things we do is continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to have an open mind, trying to figure out how to get better at it. And one thing you learn in this job is the longer you're in it, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And so usually over the course of time, you get humbled in this position or in these positions because you're having to make so many decisions. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. I have a funny one. So I was fortunate because I'm sorry if I'm getting too long-winded for you guys. It. So I was fortunate because, I had a bunch of, I was very fortunate with some good jobs in the NBA. And then I had a break. And in that break, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I ended up doing media. And I would say all the time to people, when you're in a front office, people think you're like, you don't know what you're doing. Everyone's criticizing you, the trade grades, the draft grades, all that stuff. Like, people just feel like everyone's coming at you like they just don't think, they think you're a dummy. Or maybe I'm just talking about myself. That's what it felt like. But then when you go to media and you put a headset on, you sit at a cool desk like this, and you start talking, people are like, oh man, that guy's really smart. And so the media makes it, is actually a super powerful thing, because it really just is a tool where you're to communicate to a broad audience and just kind of articulate why you think what you think. Whereas when you're in the decision-making element of these jobs, you're going to make mistakes. And, it's nice when you do media because you don't get to make any mistakes. You just get to explain both sides. And so really you get humbled over the course of time, hopefully in this thing. And you learn that we're all incredibly grateful. We're fortunate to be in this thing. And what we're really trying to do is build good basketball teams for, the people that we work with and for. And hopefully I'll just take care of our families through this incredible game.
Definitely. That's what it's really all about, is doing that, taking care of your family and those that come before you and after you.
That's right.
And making sure that all happens is so key. We've given so many lessons to so many of our SBC students on how they can be their best version of themselves going forward. We've gone through your whole story all the way back to a young Wes Wilcox, maybe running through and getting those TVs at Best Buy. What advice would you give him as to what the next few decades of his career would look like?
Yeah, go slower is the one that I've often said, because the technical expertise, or, for lack of a better term, is very different from managing a group of people, or trying to work with a group of people, or inspire a group of people, or bring a group of people together. And I do think as I've matured, I'm still not great at it, but I'm better than I was. And I'm better than I was 5 years ago, and I hope that I'm better than I am today 5 years from now. And so that's the one thing, that number one. Number two is, I would tell better just kind of emotional awareness, like have a better understanding of your surroundings. And if you're fortunate enough to get in this league and work hard, keep your head down, and do a good job, people are going to recognize it, and people are going to notice. And people are right now I'm telling you, people are right now in this building trying to find the next really good staff member that's going to end up being the next Sam Presti, the next Masai, the next Daryl. I'm just telling you guys, people are in here looking now, and I didn't know that. And I wish I would have known that then, that I could take a step back. And don't get me wrong, I focused on the work, but I just wanted to learn, and that like desire to learn more pushed, what created like probably an urgency to do more, and I didn't need to do it.
Definitely. And I mean, at the conclusion of all that, the main point is from there is go to NBA Summer League. There's really so much opportunity right here, right behind us. If there's any simple piece of advice, that's definitely it.
Yeah, go to Summer League, go to G League games, go to NBA games, go to preseason games, go to camps, put yourself in the environment where you want to be, and be comfortable enough to walk up to people to say hello. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm doing. And over time, you do it enough, you'll find your way in.
Time and time again, keeping on that same kind of consistency, good things will happen. So, I mean, Wes, thank you so much for sharing all this incredible advice here with our SBC community. This has been incredible. I really want to thank you for taking the time, and I want to thank all of you for joining us here for this episode of the Sports Business Classroom audio experience. And that concludes this episode of the Sports Business Classroom audio experience. I'm your host, John Hartofilis, and thank you for your continued support of SBC and everything we do in growing, promoting, and cultivating the next generation of leaders in the sports industry. A special thank you to Wes for an incredible conversation, highlighting his story and sharing so many key tips about how to network with professionals in your industry. This is a small taste of what you can experience at SBC, and you can check out more about our various programs at sportsbusinessclassroom.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.